Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, Menachos Daf Tes. We begin 7 lines from the top of the Amud back to the halacha of a mincha. Now the mincha is meant to have several components. We have the flour, we have the oil, we have levina, which is the incense, which are placed on top of the. Now, first the mincha is meant to be stirred, meant to be mixed together, the oil with the flour. Then comes the kmitza, the scooping, which the kohen does, of course, in the azara. Now, what happens to the mixing, which is called belila, boilel, balala? So if that happens outside the azara, does that work? Or is that also meant to be only in the azara, the place where the avodos take place? Itmar, we have a machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Belala, so if one did the blila, so he mixed the mincha, flour with the oil, outside, chutz l'chemes azara. What happens now? Rabbi Yochanan amar psula, it disqualifies the mincha because that too is meant to take place inside the Beis Hamikdash. Rish Lakish amar, he says, no, kshera, it's okay. Why? Explains the Gemara first, Rish Lakish amar kshera, you know why it's okay? Look at the pasuk. You offer the soilus, the flour, and the pasuk continues, v'yatzak aleo shemen, right? So he mixes in the oil, v'nasin levina, places the levina. There's no mention of kayhanim, there's no mention of v'hadar, and then it says, bring it to the kayin. Apparently this preparatory work can be done by the owner as well, whoever he is. It need not be in the azara per se. V'hadar, then it says, v'viyah, bring the mixed mincha, el b'nei arna kahanim b'kamatz, to the kayin to do kmitza. We learn mikmitza ve'elach mitzvahs kuna, the kayin requirement only begins from kmitza onward. What do we learn about the activities that take place beforehand? They don't require a kayin and don't require a Beis Hamikdash. They're not considered significant avodos, right? We learn from here al yitzika ublila. Yitzika is the pouring of the oil on the flour, ublila, and mixing them together, which take place before kmitza. Sheksher and bizar, even a zar can execute those steps, and therefore by parallel we say ubidikuna loybaya. If a kohen is not required, that's an indicative of the sort of lower status of this activity. It's not an avodah chashuva. It's not considered a significant part of the avodah, in which case location is not either critical. Pnim, nami lo baya. It doesn't either require to be inside. So the lack of kain denotes lack of location as well. Rabbi Yochanan amar psula, he says no. If it's done outside, it's possible. Why? Kivan dasiyasa bichlihu, since it's being done in a klisharis, it's got to be inside, where the klisharis belongs. Nehid the kunloi baya, true, I agree, you don't need a kain for the mixing. Panim, yes, baya, but it has to be done inside. Otherwise, it's possible. Tanika was said to Rabbi Yochanan. We have a raya from a brisa to Rabbi Yochanan that in fact, even by blila, location is critical. Bilal azar, kshera. If a zar mixed it, it's okay, but in the wrong location, chutz l'chaimas azar, outside the azar walls, is psula. Here comes another machlekes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish regarding a mincha. So we know that a mincha is meant to have a certain amount of flour, or nisarain, a certain amount of oil. Typically it's a lug, right? Let's say some of the material goes missing. It started with the right amount and then some of it disappeared. And it could have happened before kmitza, that's one discussion. Or it could have happened after kmitza. So after he did kmitza and then we have the leftover, some of it goes missing. What do? Do we just do we proceed, or does it halt the process? Itma, we have a discussion in the yeshiva regarding a mincha shechas rekadim kmitza. The mincha that was already sanctified in the klisharis, ready to go, a bird came along, snatched some of it, it's gone. Some of it is missing before the kmitza. Rabbi Yochanan amar, no problem, just refill it, top it up. Yavi mitech beisai, Bimalana, get some more material from your house, from your storage, and top it up. Because it's not yet, the process hasn't yet really begun. It's still, before Kmitza. So although the material was here, it was sort of bound together, but if you're missing, just fill it up. For Rish Lakish Amar lo yaveh mitech beisai b'yimalenu. Rish Lakish disagrees. You can't bring more and refill it, because once this amount has been established, has been bound together as a mincha entity, if some goes missing, the whole thing becomes puzzle. And the Gemara explains the two opinions. Rabbi Yechon Amar, no problem, just bring some more and fill it up. Maybe mitech beisai, you can bring from his house, b'yimalenu, and fill it up. Kmitza kavala. What binds it together is the act of kmitza. But before the kmitza takes place, you can switch around material. So although the kedusha has already arrived, because it was put in a klisharis together, but it doesn't mean to say that this material is absolute. If some of it goes missing, fill it up. Rish Lakish Amar lo yavi mitech beisai b'malenu. Rish Lakish disagrees. You can't refill it because kedushas kli kavalei. Once the mincha material is placed in the klisharis, that is kaveya the mincha. When we say kaveya, means it's bound together. Rashi says the lashon kviyas over here means zakuk zelozeh. Each granule is bound to the other, right? They're bound to each other. Indivisible. And if one goes, the whole thing goes. Okay, so again, we have a mincha sitting in a klisharis ready for kmitza, and some of it disappears. Rabbi Yechon says refill it because it's not yet, the process hasn't really seriously begun, and Rish Lakish says the process has begun through the kiddush, so you can't modify it in any way. Eisvei Rabbi Yechon, so Rabbi Yechon had a kasha from Rabbi Brisa, Rav Shimon Lakish. He says, look, there's a Mishnah in Negoim actually, which speaks about the lug of the oil for the matzorah, which was already in a klisharis, it's holy, ready to go, and the Mishnah says chaser halug. Some of the oil goes missing. Can he refill it? Well, it depends if he started the process. If it's still before the kohen poured the oil and started the process, Yimalanu just refill it. Apparently, even at this point in the process, you can refill. Tiyuf, that's a kasha on Rish Lakish. Because likewise, by a mincha, even after kiddush, but before kmitza, you can still salvage it. Here comes another machlokes between these two manda amram. Itmar shiraim shechasru ben kmitza la'aktorah. So we're at the next point. You did kmitza. You're holding the kmitza in your hand, and some of the shiraim goes missing, the leftovers. Typically, leftovers go to the kaihanim, not to the mizbeach. But some of it is missing before you even got to do the kmitza, before you got to be marked to the kmitza. So now you're in the middle of processing the mincha. You haven't yet completed the haktorah of the kaimetz, and part of this unit, so to speak, disappeared on you. What do you do now? Itma shiraim shechasru. So the leftover material, some of it got diminished. Ben kmitza l'haktorah, between the kmitza action and the haktorah action. Rabbi Yechon Amar makter kaimetz aleim. No problem, proceed. The missing shiraim doesn't really get in the way. Rish Lakish Amar ein makter kaimetz aleim. You can't do the haktorah because some of your carbon went missing. Now, the Gemara analyzes further. We all know there's a machlokes when it comes to animal karbanos between Rabbi Lezer, who says that even if the basar of the carbon goes missing, the flesh is missing, you can still do the zrika of the dam. So according to Rabbi Lezer, there's no question that by the kmitza as well, even if the shiraim, the leftovers, is gone, you can still do the haktorah of the kaimetz. The two things are unrelated. I'll leave it to Rabbi Lezer, according to his shita, kuli amali pligi, all agree, there's no machlekes about what to do. Certainly, you proceed and you're marked to the kaimetz despite the missing shiraim. Ki pligi, the machlekes over here applies alibo according to the Rabbi Yeshua, who holds that by a regular carbon, you must have basar, you must have the carbon around to enable you to do the zrika of the dam, because it's one package. And according to that approach, we have further discussion by the mincha what to do when part of the shiraim is missing. Let's see. This now we have a mishnah regarding an animal carbon, nitmu shi'areh. So actually, this mishnah relates to mincha. Okay, because it's the same idea. Nitmu shi'areh. So if the leftovers, after he did the kmitza, the leftovers sitting in the pot there, become tameh. For all practical purposes, they're out of the realm of the carbon. They're gone. Or nisru shireh, the shiraim got burnt. Of the shira, they got lost. Kimidas Rebbe Lezer. So according to Rebbe Lezer, back in Maseches Pesachim, who speaks about an animal carbon, and allows you to do the zrika, the application of the dam of the carbon, the blood of the carbon on the mizbeach, even though you're missing the basar. Apparently, they're unrelated. Likewise, over here. Kshera, the mincha is okay, you can proceed, put the kaimis on mizbeach regardless of the missing shirayim. But kemidas Rabbi Yeshua, according to Rabbi Yeshua's position, who says over there by the animal karbanis, look, they're interrelated. There's no flesh, there's no zrika's dam. Zrika of the dam has to be accompanied by the presence of the basar. Likewise, by a mincha, you can't just process the kaimitz and disregard the leftovers. Psula, mincha's pasal. So again, according to Rebbe Lezer's opinion, there's no discussion, there's no problem by mincha as well. As long as you have the kaimet, just keep on going. According to Rabbi Yeshua, who says you need all the elements of the carbon present by the animal karbonis. What happens over here by the mincha, where some of the shiraim went missing? Some of it. You have plenty, but some of it is missing. So that's the machlekes. Man the apostle, Rish Lakish, who by the mincha says, missing part of the shiraim, that aborts the mincha. He says, look, Rabbi Yeshua, I'm going like Rabbi Yeshua, who says, it's a full package. And you need all the pieces together in order to process the carbon or the mincha. Oman the machsha. However, Rabbi Yechon says that by a mincha, if part of the shiraim is missing, you can still proceed. He says, look, I'm not in disagreement with Rabbi Yeshua. No, I'd kind of like Ammar Rabbi Yeshua Hassam. It's only there by the case where everything went missing. That's what Rabbi Yeshua says. You can't proceed with the kaimitz. Elad leishtair. There's nothing left of the leftovers. Avol hechad ishtair. But in our case where only part of the shiraim went missing, you still have a significant portion of shiraim to speak of. You have at least a kazayis. I feel Rabbi Yeshua moidel. Even Rabbi Yeshua would agree to Rabbi Lezer. That's sufficient to allow you to proceed with the mincha. The sanyo. In fact, we have a brisa which supports this view. That even according to Rabbi Yeshua, who requires all the parts, all the elements of the carbon to be here, the basar, right? You don't need it in its entirety. As long as you have a kazayis, that's a significant portion. That allows you to proceed, whether it's zrika of the carbon, whether it's the aktar of the mincha as well, the sanya, or shoimer, kol azvachim shebetayra, all the karbanos in the Torah, where part of the basar went missing. As long as you have a kazayis, you're good. Shenishtayer mem kazayis basar or kazayis chelev. As long as you have a kazayis of the basar to eat or a kazayis of the fats for the mizbeach, as long as you have something there, that allows you to proceed with the application of the dam on a mizbeach. Zerek hadam. Kachatzi zayis basar. Kachatzi zayis chelev. In a zerek hadam, it's only a half of basar, a half a zayis of chelev. That's not enough. Oh, by carbon oila, where the entire animal is put on the mizbeach, the basar and the chelev, everything, so it's all treated like one entity. And there, even if you have a half a kazayis of the basar and a half a kazayis of the chelev, you pair them together. As long as you have a total kazayis, a total of a kazayis of burning material, you can proceed with the zrika of oila. I feel kachatzi zayis basar, right? Kachatzi zayis chelev, zerek sadam, because by the oila, there are no separate, pieces. It's all burnt on the mizbeach. It's all considered like one entity. By the oila, it's all burnt on the mizbeach. And one more point about mincha, regarding a mincha, even if the entire mincha is around with nothing missing, you can't do zrika of the dam. Ask the Gemara, hold it. We're you doing zrika of dam on a mincha. It's a different mincha ma'avita. How does a mincha come into this discussion? Amar Papa minchas nesachem. He's talking about a mincha which accompanies an animal carbon, and we're speaking that everything in the carbon got destroyed or missing, but just the minchas nesachem which accompanies the carbon is around. I would think maybe that's enough to consider the carbon present to allow zrika of the dam. The answer is no, because it's a separate entity. Minchas nesachem. The Chamina perhaps I would think, since the minchas nesachem comes together with the animal carbon, let's treat it like the actual animal itself. As long as there's something around, i.e. the mincha, you can proceed with the zrika of the dam. Kamashman, the point is no. You need to have something with the actual animal here, the basar or the chilaf. Okay, so bottom line is, we're talking about a mincha whose kmitza was already removed but not yet burnt on the mizbech, and some of the shrine is missing. Rabbi Yechon says, as long as there's something around, that's enough to proceed. Just like Rabbi Shua requires, a kazayis, but you don't need more than a kazayis of the basar or the chela, as we just discussed. Okay, so now according to Rabbi Yechon, we understand why you can proceed. Uman the puzzle. Let's shift over to Reish Lakish, who says that by a mincha, even if a drop of the shiraim went missing, you can't proceed. Why? Why is it different than by the carbon, where we say a kazayis is enough to give you the green light? Man the pasal shani hacha. By the mincha, it's different. We have a pasal which says anything missing aborts the process. Shani hacha damakra ve'her makoyim min mincha es askarasa. Kohen removes from the mincha the askara, that's the remembrance, that's the kaimet which represents the mincha. Viktam mizbech, puts it on the mizbech. The word ha-mincha tells you the way it is, without alterations, without anything missing. Adi isa lekula mincha. Only if the entire mincha is still intact, the yaktid that allows you to be makted the kaimet, but anything less than that is possible. Vidach. On the other hand, Rabbi Yechon says, no, mina mincha. Mina mincha says that even if it's part of the old mincha shaisa kvar, allows you to proceed, as long as there's something left of the old mincha. Eisvei comes a kasha on Reish Lakish, who says that even a little bit missing stops the process. Rabbi Yechon Reish Lakish, he asked him a question. We have a brayso, actually pirkos. Now we shift to lechem aponim, so the bread arrangement on the shulchan, which had the breads, which are meant to be full breads, complete breads, not broken apart, and you have those 2 spoons of the levaina sitting nearby, which is going to be like a remembrance, a representative of the lechem aponim, like a kmitza of a mincha. This is sort of the part that goes on a mizbech. So what happens if the breads fell apart? They broke. Actually, perka, before he took it apart, before he took away the levaina and he did sort of the kmitza, nifras, somebody chopped up the breads, lechem pasal, the bread is also because it's possible because it's considered like it's missing. It's missing in its form. And you can't go ahead and burn the levaina of the spoons on a mizbeach because your mincha, your offering is disqualified. But if the breakage occurred after you remove the levaina, which is like the act of kmitza by a mincha, so once the process has already begun, alechem pasal, of course the bread you can't eat because it's like chaser, it's like it's missing in its format. But be allowed to proceed and burn the levaina on the mizbeach. V'amar Elazar continued, just a side point here. Loi perka mamish. It doesn't really depend on actually removing the levaina. Ella kivin shegias man lefarik. As long as the time for Pirik has come, it's already Chatzos on Shabbos, it's time to remove the levaina. It's considered as though it's happened, as though you already begun the process, and we disregard the breakage on the bread. Even though in actuality he hadn't done it yet, but it's already time for it, the process had already begun. Says Rabbi Yechon, Avarai, from this brisa, that even if breakage occurs or something goes missing, but if it happened after the kmitza, or even after the time for removal of the levaina in this case, we can disregard what happens to the rest. Likewise, in the case of the kmitza that had already been removed and the shiraim, some of it went missing, big deal, just keep on going. Amar lei, Yamani Rabbi Eliezer. So Rish Lakish responds, well, this Bryce that you're quoting is Rabbi Eliezer's Shita, who we know from earlier that he's of the opinion that we don't care about leftovers at all. He says even if the entire leftover is gone, doesn't matter as long as you have the kaimetz continue, as long as you have the blood of the carbon continue even without the animal. Yes, according to him, it's simply okay. We're not going like that opinion. We're discussing Rabbi Yeshua's opinion, who generally requires that the whole package be here. Amalei Rabbi Yechon responded, I'm quoting to you this whole brayse here with that dissent. There's no names to it. It seems like it's a consensus. And you're insisting that's Rabbi Eliezer speaking. You know what? If it would be Rabbi Eliezer speaking, Nifras, why does the brayse have to limit itself to a case where the breads fell apart, where the breads are still here? Go on a bigger case. I feel a sort of Avad Nami Machshar. Rabbi Eliezer allows you to proceed even if the entire bread's gone, burnt, destroyed, lost. The fact that the brayse did not relate to that extreme case indicates that that would be a problem, because we're going like Rabbi Yeshua, you need the breads. And if in fact the breads are gone, you can't do the burning of the levayna, right? So why is this case different? Because in this case the bread is still here, it's just broke. It's like chaser, it's like missing. So we see from here a proof to my position that if the leftover, if the mincha is somewhat missing, you can still proceed. Ishtik, so Rish Lakish did not have an answer. He didn't find an answer to the question. Asked the Gemara, why not? He could have answered simply that lechem aponim is very different than a standard, personal mincha. This is a public offering. It's a different story. But my shas, like, why did he remain silent? They could have simply said, tzibur shani. The lechem aponim, which is a public carbon, it's different. Just like we find, that in a public setting, tumah isn't necessarily such a big issue. Hoil ve'ishtri tumah l'gabayu. By carbon tzibur, even if there's tumah involved, the kind of matame, right? We can proceed. Ishtir nami chaseris, perhaps that would explain why you can proceed even if it's missing or broken. It's very different than, a private mecha that we're talking about. Amar v'ada bar Abba zesemeres chisaron kibabum dami. Says v'ada bar Abba, apparently that wasn't a good answer because, true, tumah sometimes are suspended. Tumah issues are disregarded by tzibur, but not if it's a balmum, if an animal is blemished, that it's never allowed to be brought, even in a tzibur settings. Likewise, chisaron, when it's missing or broken, has that same status. V'im balmum b'tzibur, balmum is not okay, not acceptable in a public setting, so that wouldn't really be a good explanation. Yasser Rav Papa was sitting, Kamal Shmaita, and he was relating this whole back and forth. Amali Rav Yosef bar Shmaya, he told Rav Papa, he couldn't have answered your suggested answer that a carbon tzibur is different, because maybe Rabbi Yechon and Rish Lakish were also talking about a carbon tzibur when they had their discussion. And even there, Rish Lakish insisted that it's possible if it's somewhat missing. Mili Askin, who says we're not talking about, who says that their discussion, the Rabbi Yechon and Rish Lakish, minchas oimer, the tzibur upligi, maybe they're talking about a minchas oimer, which is a public mincha, and they still have the same discussion. And even there, Rish Lakish insists that unless it's completely intact, you can't proceed. So, yeah, who's to say that there's any differentiation? Okay. Now let's just conclude with the sourcings. Amar of Melkayai, he quotes a brayse. Tanicha, the one brayse says like this. You know why, if the mincha is missing, it's pasul? Pasuk says misolta. Misolta. The kohen does kmitza from its flour, its absolute amount of flour. Shem chasr kol shu psula. To tell you that there's an absolute amount. If there's anything missing in the flour, it's pasul. Likewise, the word mishamna, from its oil, mishamna, right? Mishem and shallah. Shem chasr kol shu pasul, once again tells you if there's missing something in the oil, it's pasul. So that's one source. We have another brayse which has a different source. After kmitza, the leftovers, remaining material is given to the kehanim to eat. And aseres min mincha are consumed by the kehanim. We learn from here, prat lemincha shechasr hi, shechasr kumtza. Right? V'shechasr kumtza v'shalei hikter v'levanasa klum. We learn from here that everything is critical. Mincha, the word mincha tells you, it has to be a complete mincha. As opposed to if it's missing some of the shirayim. As opposed to if it's missing some of the kaimets. As opposed to if it's missing some of the levina. Mincha is an entity which has all the pieces that have to come together. So the question is, why do we need two sources? The first brisa comes from the pasuk misalto misham no. Second brisa from the word mina mincha. Trei kroy lamali, trei kroy b'chaseres lamali. Why two psukim? To teach us the same point that if it's missing, it's possible. Lav. Wouldn't you think? One is speaking about, well, it depends when missing. One is speaking that the chisaron occurred before kmitza, and the point is you can't refill it. And that's like Rish Lakish in the first discussion. And the second pasuk is telling you, even if the shirayim goes missing after kmitza, it's also a disqualifying event, like Rish Lakish in the second discussion. Right? Chad, one pasuk is lemincha shechasr. Lav, shouldn't we say lav? Chad, the mincha shechasr kadem kmitza. One is to tell you that a mincha which is missing even before kmitza is over. V'chad, in the second, and the other pasuk, the shirayim shechasr and kmitza l'aktorah, to tell you that even shirayim goes missing between kmitza and aktorah, you can't proceed with the haktorah of the kaimis. V'tiyufta de Rabbi Yechim Tarayu, and it would appear from these two brises, unlike Rabbi Yechim and Shita in both positions, both cases. Right? One, it opposes Rabbi Yechon's opinion that if the mincha is missing something before the kmitza, you can still refill it. And the second, that if the shirayim is missing, even after the kmitza, Rabbi Yechon says you can proceed. Here it seems otherwise. Says more loy. No. Let's learn the brises differently. Chad, one pasuk is lemincha shechasr kadem kmitza. Yeah, if the mincha goes missing before the kmitza, show's not over. You can still salvage it. Di mevi mi beisav malana in. If you quickly get some more material from your house and you fill it up, good. So you have to make sure to fill it up. Make sure it doesn't stay missing. If you don't refill it, the mincha is puzzle. Don't say, well, once it was there, you don't have to refill it. You have to refill it. Quantity is critical, but you could refill it. And the other pasuk is telling you, that in fact, even the shirayim, after kmitza, the shirayim went missing a little bit. The avagav the mak the kmitza alain. You should know, even according to Rabbi Yechon, that you can do the kmitza, the aktar of the kmitza, but you should know oisen shirayim asurun ba'achila. You can't eat those shirayim. And that's the second pasuk. On aseres mina mincha. You can only eat the neseres, the shirayim, if they're part of the full mincha, as opposed to if it's missing something. The boilu, because we have a question in the Beis HaMedrash, that according to Rabbi Yechon, who allows you to proceed with the aktor of the kaimets, what's the status of the shirayim? Can you eat them or not? Lo'aymer shirayim shechasru kmitz l'aktor. According to Rabbi Yechon, who says that if it's between the kmitz and the aktor of the kmitz that the shirayim went missing, right? Still, mak the kaimetz only can continue and do the haktor of the kaimetz. What about eating the rest of the shirayim? Ois and shirayim, my machil. What's the status of the shirayim regarding yachila? Amazir makro, v'naseres, v'loy naseres, minan naseres. V'naseres mincha tells you, yeah, the leftovers, but not the leftovers from the leftovers, not the remainder of the remainder. Which means to say that only if the entire shirayim is intact, you can eat it. But if something from that goes missing, it loses its status and you can't eat it. Rabbi Omar, mina mincha, mincha sheisa kvar. He focuses on the words mina mincha, as we focused before, and he says, again, you can only eat the shirayim if it's v'neseres mina mincha. If this is the leftovers of the original mincha that was there during mincha sheisa kvar, that was there during the aktorah. Right? So again, only if the entire mincha was there during aktorah, but if part of the mincha went missing before the aktorah, it's not called v'neseres mina mincha. It's a new format, it's a new amount. It's a new setup, you can't eat it. So according to the first, it's v'neseres, that's the focal point, leftovers, but not leftovers of leftovers. And the second, Rabbi Yana Yishita, is based on the word mina mincha, leftovers of the original mincha, as opposed to if something goes missing, this is not the original format. Okay, we'll pick it up tomorrow, but just a quick recap. We had three discussions, three machlokes between Rabbi Yechon and Rish Lakish. In the first, it was a question where to do the belila of the mincha. Could it be done outside or only inside? Then we went on to mincha shechasra, chasra kaid mekmitza. Rish Lakish says, it's possible. Rabbi Yechon says you can refill it. And then we had a mincha that went missing after the kmitza before the aktara. Rish Lakish says it's over because it has to be the same mincha, the same format, the same setup all the way until the aktara. Otherwise, it's possible. Rabbi Yechon says, although you can't eat the shiraim as we just concluded, but the kaimets, you can continue doing the aktara. And the mincha is technically kosher. All the best to you, and atzlach.